Hello and welcome, Internet experts. This is a really unique night because, as though we're all experts in everything on the internet, uh, some experts were caught off guard, and I think that was my key takeaway from Tesla's earnings call. So, welcome. Um, hey, Roland. Hey. Uh, oh, good. Glad that got good feedback. So, that's fantastic. There was a section video contributor story on Now You Know channel that I submitted, and they played that. It was about the supercharger roundup, the videos I did a couple weeks ago, and uh, always a little weird when you submit something like that because it's kind of abstract, not about a specific thing, but hey, get out and travel and experience the Tesla supercharger network and explore. So I'm glad that got a good reaction. Very dry down here. Sorry about that. Um, so Tesla had their earnings call. Hi, John. Welcome. And there was a lot of takeaways. They made a bunch of money. Their margins are crazy. And all that kind of typical stuff that other people cover much better than I do. But there was one phrase that really just floored me. And I'll talk more about some of the other stuff. But the thing that got me was when they were talking about different products coming out and demand and everything. And I think it was Zach Kirkhorn said that Tesla was really surprised, and I think the phrase he used was caught off guard by the awakening of the general public to EVs and EV adoption. And obviously that's, I think he said people are wanting EVs and they're wanting a Tesla, which, obviously, it makes a lot of sense, especially for them to say. But what struck me about that is, although it was great that, they're saying, yeah, we've got demand, as much demand as we can handle for years. What I found super interesting about that was that they were saying, we're the ones who have been ringing this bell and saying, hey, EVs are coming. Once people get a taste of these, they're going to love them. And, this adoption curve is going to happen faster than a lot of people expect. And when the people who have been ringing that bell and kind of chanting that for the last 10 years are still surprised by how fast it's starting to shift, I think that's a huge wake-up call and really ties into a similar response I had with my Mach-E video from last weekend. I was interviewing Paul Bloomquist, who owns the Roseau County Ford and C&H Ford in Halleck, Minnesota, way up north. And he was kind of talking about how Ford's accelerated plans. They have announced new battery facilities and new manufacturing plants, I think in Tennessee and Kentucky, I want to say. I might have that wrong, but they're investing like $11.4 billion in the next few years to do that. And then I think they just made another announcement a couple days ago about either another vehicle or another plant that they're reworking or something for EVs. And so to me, that was a great sign that Ford has seen, oh, we can't make Mach-E's fast enough to handle the demand. And then with the response for the F-150 Lightning, that was far beyond what they expected. And they're like, hey, we can be major players in here if we start, accelerating our plans. And I think Paul's comment was that in the um, in the 6 months after the F-150 announcement, the Lightning announcement was made, they completely retooled their plans and expectations as far as getting their hands dirty in battery manufacturing and really jumping in as ICE manufacturers can into EVs as quickly as they can. So that was really encouraging from Ford's standpoint. Like, oh, they're starting to see this is happening, and I'm starting to hear from people and having conversations about my next car is going to be an EV. My next car is going to be an EV, and so that was great. But then to hear Tesla say, we were caught off guard, and there's been an awakening in the world population to EVs, the car buying public, that says that Ford needs to move even faster. And, Volkswagen just had Elon on their manager meeting talk about some of that stuff. And I still haven't seen a full transcript or anything exactly what they talked about. But I'm sure he was talking about, they need to accelerate too. And so it's good that they're doing that and they're seeing that this is worthwhile. But it does make you wonder about the Toyotas and Hondas that are just dragging their feet and living in hybrid world. Maybe that'll appease the holdouts for a while, but I've been saying it for a couple of years, and kind of as the Clean Cars Minnesota thing was going through, that everybody likens it to the iPhone moment where no one had a smartphone and then everyone had a smartphone, and it just happened relatively like that. And it's really starting to happen, and we're seeing major delays in when you can get your Tesla. The used prices are up so high. A friend of mine just ordered a Mach-E GT, which super excited for him. Congratulations. And he said the delivery is probably going to be May of next year. So, Ford's probably making them as fast as they can and faster than they thought they could originally or thought they would plan to. And yeah, the delivery dates for those are still in I think May of next year is what he said. So that's super exciting. Good for Ford that they've got this demand and seem to be starting to see things coming. But the laggards are going to have a really hard time catching up. Again, if Tesla is surprised by the speed of something, then if you're not thinking as fast as Tesla, you're going to be in trouble. So hopefully everyone makes it and just converts faster. Excuse me. The price is one of $2,000 in the Model Y. Did that go up again? Am I going to do a video on the Polestar 2? Yes. I just haven't. I've been doing some client work for the last couple weeks and haven't had a chance to do much of anything other than. And that Mach-E video was a monster. It took a long time to edit. I had a lot of footage, and after I cut that down, cut my interview with Paul down, which I really appreciate him being willing to spend some time on the phone, and then added a B-roll and stuff in there. And it just took a long time, and so that's kind of been all-consuming. And then I launched the video and realized I didn't put anything about the frunk of the Mach-E in there, which is fine. Other people have talked about it ad nauseum, but I was just kind of scrubbing through some footage for something else and realized, oh, that's not even in my video. So could have made it a full hour and a half video instead of just an hour and 23 or 26 minutes, whatever it was. But that one was a doozy. But hopefully it's helpful for people who are shopping and doing some comparisons and things. But I do want to get back. I do want to get into the Polestar in the next week or two. Tesla buying VW? I don't think they would. I think if Elon can if Herbert Diess can continue to transition the minds at VW fast enough, or relatively fast, and they can handle their own stuff, I think it definitely shows Elon's, engaged with the mission, that he was willing to join in on that meeting and, share whatever he did share with them. So I think, as far as a streamline of business, if VW converts most or all of their plants to electric, they've got a huge sunk cost, and it's more than Tesla would want to bother with if they don't have to. So if he can help Herbert Diess transition them and let them deal with the sunk costs of their current ICE production and do that transition, it makes more sense to just let them do that and help accelerate them any way they can. And we've got a new beta tester in the chat. Hi, Jim. Welcome. Jim just got it this morning. Iowa Tesla guy. I believe just got beta this morning. So congratulations. It sounds like your drive this morning went well. I hope the rest of them, if you've had more time to play with it, have worked out well as well. Yeah, I got a little guff on John about saying that Electrify America was expensive. The assumption was that I was trying to compare it to Tesla, which is their superchargers, especially in Minnesota, have gotten more expensive recently too, but not as. They aren't at 43 cents yet. I think they were at like 31 or 33. And then the person was making the argument that, well, you pay more for your car because you have access to the supercharger network, so it's probably all a wash. But I tried really hard in the Mach-E video to keep my comparisons to Tesla and the Model Y to a minimum, where it was pertinent and apples to apples. I tried to, just keep it very, either this is my opinion because it's what I'm used to, or, the Mach-E has, in the rear view mirrors and the side mirrors, they've got the little blind spot warnings that come on. And at first it was annoying, then I was really grateful that it was there. And I thought, well, that would be something cool if Tesla implemented. It's not on the Model Y. So I was trying to keep really apples to apples comparisons. And then when I got into the charging, I was making the comment that 43 cents is expensive, not necessarily as a comparison to Tesla, but more of the perception that EVs are supposed to be cheaper. And when you're paying the same or more than gas, depending on the gas price, that's a tough sell to make. And so charging at home solves that because you can charge it off peak and far lower. So I probably should have made that more clear in the video that was not a comparison to Tesla. It was just a overall statement, and maybe it's a statement I shouldn't have made. But I do make all these videos myself, and there are going to be some errors despite my best efforts. So until I can hire a big crew of fact checkers and better script writers, this is what we've got. So I do my best to be as accurate as I can, but not everybody's going to take it in the way you intend. Yeah, Ford Mach-E does have a frunk. I just didn't talk about it. Jim's got 10.2. Definitely some rough edges in certain situations, especially on unmarked roads. And yeah, Jim is in the Cedar Rapids area. Tesla's 27 cents a kilowatt. Well, I wonder if different chargers, or maybe it's different times a day. They might alter it during different times a day. It sounds like a test for a video. If I really want to be bored someday, just sit at a supercharger and plug in like once an hour. See what the rate is. There's probably a smarter way to do that, but that's what's coming on the top of my head. But anyway, I'm really excited to see if Jim makes a video. I was encouraging him on YouTube this morning to do that because I love to see if it works or how it works in different areas. EV Dave had a drive he did kind of through some country back roads, and it worked pretty well. He had an interesting edge case, which you probably wouldn't see in city driving, of someone was having a birthday party, and they had tied a balloon to the mailbox. And so you had this thing that could have been interpreted as a human head, kind of floating around, kind of out into the driving area. And it did notice it, and it may have slowed down a little bit or something, but it handled it really well. And, just seeing the different things that crop up on the roads, I think is really interesting, wherever it is. So the more the merrier. Okay. So lots more in the Tesla earnings. Like I said, a lot of people are covering the nitty-gritty of the financials, and that's not my forte. Jim is saying he did record his very first drive. Video coming. So if you're not subscribed to Iowa Tesla Guy, go ahead and do that. And you'll get to see his experience there. Very excited. Yeah. Felt like a kid on Christmas morning. And as I'm seeing more and more people, I'm still at a 97 on my safety score. Someone decided to brake sharply in front of me and take a right turn. So I got hit with a forward collision warning, and it's been holding me down at 97. But the excitement of seeing different people get it is so cool. EV Dave got it. I got to watch his video in his area. Now Jim's got it, and we can see what it's like there. And kind of like the supercharger network filling in gaps, we're starting to see, in the Minnesota Tesla group, Dan Birkland, he is on YouTube as well, and has in the past just posted some of his racing videos and things. But he's been posting videos from Northeast Minneapolis. And he's the first one I've seen in Minnesota to post videos. And to see it working in, places you may have been in LA or New York or, different parts of the country is cool. But to see it in your own turf And like, I know exactly where that road is. I know right where that restaurant is. I know what that road is like, and it's doing it, or it's not doing it, depending on the situation. But that's super exciting, and it's not quite Kid on Christmas Morning excitement, but it's very exciting, for everybody that's getting it, um, and it's kind of cool because on one hand there's the frustration of, oh, I don't have it yet, other people have it, but at the same time I know I'm going to get it relatively soon, and just knowing it's around the corner, I probably won't get it till 10.3 at the earliest, maybe 10.4. But that just means when I get it, it's going to be that much better because of the work you guys have done already. So I'm super stoked to see it keep rolling out. So let's see. Same thing happened to me about 2 weeks ago. Remember the two-finger reboot? Yeah, I know. I don't want to do the two-finger reboot. I know you can, but I feel like I've come this far. I kind of want to earn it, honestly. Not that that's dishonest. I can't control what other people do on the road, but I've just decided, like, I'm gonna get it when I'm gonna get it. It's gonna be soon. I've got a few videos in the hopper, so it's not like, oh, I need this right now for content. But I am excited. I'm very excited for everyone that's got it. John's at a 90. I think they might stop at. I can see them stopping for a while at like 95 or 90 and maybe waiting. And then I would think they would go, don't hate the player, hate the game. Exactly. That came out of nowhere. Fantastic. Thank you. I needed that. The I would guess they'd probably go down eventually to somewhere around 80, because I can't imagine it's that hard to get an 80. Maybe I'm way off, but I feel like 80 should be very attainable. And if it keeps rolling down slowly, 80s might not be getting it till spring or something. Who knows? But there's also on the call, to get back to the earnings call, one of the things they were talking about is, they're not constrained by how much data they have. They're constrained by how fast they can process it. So although they're getting potentially great data, they're going to have to be more selective the more people who this rolls out to on what they're picking from the field to do trainings and things. So it'll be interesting until they get Dojo up and running, how fast things can improve, even though they've got more and more data coming in. But maybe having that mountain of data kind of consuming them will force them to come up with innovative ways of, hey, if we just did this, maybe we could make use of more of this, or do this part on the background and this part on, who knows. That is not my forte. As usual, I am not an expert. So a couple other things from the Tesla earnings. A great comment by Rob Maurer, and it may have been about the time they were talking about the being caught off guard, or the awakening. But they were also talking about the automotive margins and things like that, the financials, and Rob Maurer said from Tesla Daily, if you aren't familiar with that, he was saying that the chance to compete is slipping away, and that's kind of a similar sentiment to what I was saying earlier. That this thing is snowballing faster than Tesla thought it would, and if that's the case, the chance for the GMs, the Fords, the Volkswagens to compete is going to get out of hand very quickly. And if you've seen Sandy Munro's video from today, you know that China is right on the heels of Tesla, and there's going to be a lot of things coming out of China. So if the U.S. companies, if Volkswagen wants to stay competitive, they got to get rolling and go faster than they think they can, which is a tall order. I understand those big organizations take a while to get things done, but it's an exciting new world. So, I just thought that was a really poignant quote from Rob, that the chance to compete is slipping away, and that's what really struck me this earnings call. There was a good question they answered about service and congestion. And obviously, we've just had the Rogers, Minnesota service center just open up. I don't know if they're ramped up to full speed or hired fully yet, but that's good. More is good. And they were talking about congestion and different ways that they can motivate people to avoid congestion. One of that is a fun thing I didn't put in my notes, but I've got a fun thing. Obviously building out the supercharger network, and also routing people to superchargers that aren't as busy. So kind of working on the software end as well to maximize the routing and getting people the farthest on a charge, it sounded like. So there might be some advancements coming to the software around charging curves. They kind of hinted at that. And maybe sending you to a charger that might be a little further away, but they know you can get there. Again, that's going to be a big data puzzle. And people like me are still probably going to overcharge just a little bit just to be safe. But we'll see. The more accurate they can get that prediction, the more people will be able to trust it. And that will be good just for everyone. Excuse me. Jim had to go 300 miles to get back to 100%. So he convinced his wife to take a trip to see the autumn leaves on Sunday. Oh, how romantic of you. As long as she doesn't find out, that was very romantic of you. The leaves have been great the last few days, so I hope you had a good ride. And with the glass roof, it just enhances things. So, fantastic. They also talked about how Austin and Berlin will probably be producing vehicles this year, but not delivering. So these will be vehicles for quality testing, for, I'm sure, crash testing, since they're doing new ways of building the body and things. They're going to have to go through some of those processes. So I don't think we'll be able to expect that any vehicles will be handed off to customers from those locations. But if they can just get in a good position to hit 2022 running, I think that's great, even if it takes all year. So neither of those factories have ramped as fast as China, but as much as we all would have liked to have seen that happen, I don't think anyone really expected that it would be quite that quick. But hopefully they've learned efficiencies in China that will then translate to make these new factories even better, and hopefully that just keeps spinning and ramping up. She knew exactly what I did. She's much smarter than me. Well, she still went with you, so that works out anyway. That's a feather in your cap one way or another. And if you got yourself to 100, then it was all worth it. The other thing from the call, just to wrap up on that, was no Elon on the call this time. And as much as it is to hear, as much fun as it is to hear some of the kind of tangents he goes on or information he lets slip because he's like, screw it, we'll just tell him now. That kind of stuff is fun, but it's not essential for a earnings call. And I've heard some people saying it's not what Wall Street expects. And we know in the past there's been some bickering, shall we say, between Elon and some of the Wall Street folks asking questions. So it probably takes a huge amount of time and stress off his plate to have to do that. It probably makes the Wall Street folks happier because although they might not get a juicy, gotcha Elon moment or, a big quote to take away, they get pretty direct answers. Some of it felt scripted, and I think that's fine. That's probably what a lot of companies do, is you sit down, write it out, this is what we're going to tell them, this is how we're going to tell them, and that's what you present. I worked in events for years and years, and at company meetings, at shareholder meetings, investor days, generally the CEO is reading off a teleprompter or bullet points at least. And, Elon's very unique in that he will share things that most people wouldn't. And, like I said, that's given us some great nuggets in the past. But I thought this was a very, although they did seem a little nervous, it was a very professional, direct earnings call that I think Wall Street can appreciate. So that's probably good. And Jim says, yes, she's a keeper. So fantastic. You should take a screenshot of this, the stream chat here, so that she can see, you're talking good about her. Just to have it in your back pocket. I need to start talking my wife up in live streams. All right, Jim, have a good night, and we'll look forward to your video. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed to Iowa Tesla Guy, go ahead and do that, and you'll get to see what FSD does in the Cedar Rapids area. Yeah, I did do that right. Yes, Cedar Rapids. But anyway, great to hear from you, and glad you're enjoying it so far. Okay, so, like I was saying, sorry, I just clapped really close to the microphone. I hope that didn't blow out your ears. The fun thing I have is yesterday, I knew we were going to get rain and it was going to be overcast for a few days. And the new supercharger in St. Peter, Minnesota, one town over from where I grew up, is almost complete, and I've got some photos and videos. I ran down there yesterday to, yeah, I need to be in the middle here, to see how it's coming. So let's take a look at that. And it's in the Hy-Vee parking lot. This is just as you pull in. This is kind of standing near the superchargers. They're right to my back here. And then it's 8 stalls, but no pull-in spot, which is a disappointment. But 8 V3s, and they look like they're the prefab builds, or close to it. And you get a good sense of the space there. And I don't think the porta-john will stay, but the restrooms in the Hy-Vee are nice. And here we see the meter is installed. I don't know if you can see on the stream, but it does look like it's active. There are some digital numbers on there, so might not be completely wrapped up. Looks like they're still doing some cleaning and final touches and things. This is kind of driving out of the parking lot. I kind of swung by to take a closer look. And so that's super exciting. We don't know if this, we don't know if this will replace Mankato or if this is an addition to Mankato. Long term, it would make sense to do both. So you have people coming south from the cities on 169, and this is a good spot for them. Coming the other way, I can't remember what the other highway name is that it would be near in Mankato, but if it was up the hill, if you're familiar with Mankato, this is very like region specific. While we're driving here, McDonald's on the right, gas station on the left here at the same exit. There was also, I think, a Best Western or something. We'll see it here again. There's also a Dairy Queen not too far away, and maybe a couple other restaurants. It's would be on the northern end of St. Peter as you're coming into town. And I think there's a nature preserve across the highway a little distance before this, if you're coming from the Twin Cities. But yeah, it looks like it's raring to go. They got to paint some lines, clean up the extra rubbish they've got there. And then there again, you can see that meter is up and running. And the Hy-Vee is not like a Twin Cities Hy-Vee or, like a big city Hy-Vee. But it still had a, deli and all the, different little food stations in there, in the food area. And like I said, restrooms were clean. It's going to be a good stop. It would be nice if it were right off the highway, but this is probably a best case scenario for how St. Peter is laid out. And for getting on and off the highway without being in downtown with a lot of traffic. So to the right, you can see we've got a Dollar General right by the McDonald's. And then, like I said, up ahead through the trees there is I think you can see it here, a Best Western. Maybe you can't see it. And then the gas station if you just want a quick snack. So, cool that it's coming. Hopefully we hear that it's up and running soon. I might be taking a trip that way this week, so we'll see. My daughter's got the next 2 days off of school, and I have no idea what we're going to do yet. So we might go on adventures and explore superchargers and things. I warned her I might take her away on a road trip. Yeah, Worthington's slow and not super convenient. So, hi Tim, by the way. and I'll just let this play through one more time. But yeah, excited that it's coming. Like I said, if Mankato still gets one next year, that's going to be really excellent for that area of the state. If they don't and they move it, somewhere to like Redwood Falls or something, that would make sense. But there's Mankato's a fairly large town for that part of the state, so it'd be good for them to get one as well. By the time you guys get there, you're going to feel like you were driving right there already on a beautiful sunny day. And eventually I'll go down and do a supercharger review down here. So I figured before all the leaves are gone, I'll get some decent footage of the area, if nothing else. So we'll come back here at the stop sign. Okay. So yeah, that's cool, and yeah, having that extra bump on the way down to Worthington gives you a lot more options. It might mean that you go all the way to Sioux Falls, though. And does anyone want to go to Sioux Falls any more than they have to? I don't know. That's up for debate. But anyway, that's coming. It's exciting to me anyway. Next thing was, and they kind of talked about this on the earnings call, that there have been some Cybertruck leaks. I don't know if anybody's seen that. There's been like some leaked footage of it testing with rear wheel steering and side mirrors, which is a bummer. But Elon on Twitter had said that we're going to make them so they're easy to remove, because I guess depending on the state you're in, the manufacturers have to deliver vehicles with the side mirrors on, but they aren't required by the owner. Like, the owner doesn't have to keep them on in many states. So I think a lot of those are going to come off. Hopefully they can still do that safely. Hopefully owners can do that and still be safe. But it's cool to see that. Also, on the earnings call, they said they had several alpha vehicles testing, and someone on Twitter, I can't remember the handle, had talked about they were in a service center, and there's some new B-roll on one of the monitors in a service center of the Cybertruck in New York and going across a bridge and at Giga, Texas. So very cool there. I think we're just going to, now that they've got alphas testing, the next 6 months, 8 months, we're probably going to see a progression of leak after leak after leak until we get, the big, this is what it finally is. Unfortunately, it's about a year later than we all wanted, but I was just going to look at it anyway. I don't need a truck, but it's cool that they're actually to the point where they've got more than one driving around. In other news, I kind of spoke to this already. A friend of mine just placed an order for the Mach-E GT, and he got the longest range he could on that. And he ordered black, so it should look good with the black grill. Won't be so noticeable. It should look really good, and I think it's got the red calipers, brake calipers, and everything. So he's very excited, and I'm excited for him. I wish it would come before May, but it all depends on how fast Ford, really starts ramping those. But it just got another award. Looks like it seems to be doing well. People are paying it good attention, so that's good. And apparently it's Pete Buttigieg's new security car. Apparently they got a Mach-E security car. And I know it's black. I don't know if it's a GT, probably not. although maybe. And then someone, I'm blanking on his name. Chris, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your last name, but Chris Kavanaugh was saying, it's an odd choice to have a Mexican-made EV, for a U.S. government official. It's a Ford, so of course they're gonna overlook that. But yeah, it is interesting. But at least it's an electric car and might be the first high-level federal electric vehicle that's actually going to be used, assuming it's going to be used and not just a PR stunt. But so if nothing else, it's a milestone in that regard. So that's pretty cool. And then speaking of friends' vehicles, a couple weeks ago, I was talking, well, several weeks ago now, I was talking about a friend of mine who bought a Model Y, or a Model 3, and wanted to follow up with them, but I was a little hesitant because what if they aren't liking it for some reason and just don't want to say anything? They haven't reached out, our paths haven't crossed. Well, I ran into some people who are familiar, and one of them is their son, and it was actually purchased for the wife and the family, and it was going to be her vehicle. And then when I met with someone who knows them, they were saying, no, he drives it all the time. And so, common thing, a family gets a Tesla and it suddenly becomes like whoever has to drive farther, they get the Tesla for the day. And it becomes the sharing game, which is fun. So I was like, oh, good, at least they're getting use out of it. And, seem to be liking enough that, they're maybe not fighting over it, but, they're using it as a daily driver. They live in Wisconsin, and not every day, but they do drive into the South Metro for work. So that was great. That's why they bought it, gas savings and all that. And, the fun aspect of all that. I thought, great. Glad to see they're getting good use out of it and enjoying it enough to drive it. And then I ran into their son a couple days later, and he's like, oh, yeah, they're living that Tesla life. They're just all into it. I'm like, oh, really? That's great. And he's like, yeah, they did a big road trip. And I'm thinking, okay, Wisconsin to northern Wisconsin, or, something like that. And he's like, yeah, they drove down to South Carolina, and, then they were coming back, and my dad was telling me, oh, it's not so bad, every couple hours you get out, you stretch, you have coffee, all the things that, we know that, if you've road tripped in a Tesla, and it was just so awesome to hear that kind of third hand, like they've got it, they're using it, they're enjoying it, and they're road tripping in it. So I was just super happy to hear that. Because you never know, like, as much as I love Tesla, some people don't have great experiences. For some people, it's not what they expected. And, when you recommend something, there's always that kind of in the back of your mind of like, what if they're one of those people that has a terrible experience on my recommendation? Doesn't seem to be the case at this point, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I'm in the clear. Yeah, so lots of good reports I'm hearing about that. Some other good news is the Model X long range is being delivered, and somebody shared a photo. I'm not sure if it was Sawyer Merritt or he was sharing someone's photo and giving them credit, but a photo of 125 of the new Model X is ready to be picked up and shipping out. So that's good. Hopefully that can ramp really quickly over the fourth quarter, and they can get a lot more Model S Plaid, long range, and the long range X out. Don't know if we'll see a Plaid X this year. That might be a stretch. And then another person, I actually want to read this. I took a screenshot of it so I could remember it. This was... I just have his response. Brandon Lee 96 or Brandon E BRANDONEE 916 on Twitter said, and he's one of the Tesla beta testers. He's had FSD beta, I think, since the original rollout. I think that's how I started following him. But he was saying his parents are so excited because their Chevy Bolt had its battery replaced. And they're very excited that they've got a new battery and it's got more range. So now I think he said it's about the same as his Performance Model 3, which is fantastic. And then I just responded saying, oh, it's great to see that these are rolling out and the recall is actually happening. People are getting this fixed and getting the new battery range, new battery, presumably some new battery tech, and a new battery warranty. So that's good for Bolt owners. Oh yeah, that was his response back to me. Is he said, I said I'm so excited, and he said so am I. My mother was so excited. Her range increase was 100 miles since the pack was faulty and degraded, and now she's getting as many miles as my Performance Model 3. So wonderful news for the long-suffering Bolt owners, and hopefully that can just accelerate, and we hear more and more of those stories. So crossing my fingers for that one, because I keep seeing more and more signs of parking garages where they aren't allowing Bolts. So hopefully this gets them over the hump and that kind of stuff can stop happening. The next thing on my list is Jim, the Iowa Tesla guy, is now a beta tester, and I'm still at 97. But we've already talked about that, so nice that Jim stopped in. And like I said, he's going to have his video sharing his experience, and it will be fun to share in his excitement there. And then, like I said, Dan Birkland is testing in Minneapolis, and that's very cool to see. Just seeing it work in places is a whole different vibe than seeing it in someone's neighborhood in San Francisco or in Florida somewhere. Not that there's anything wrong with those places, but if you're not familiar with an area, it's like yeah, that's just some place where FSD works, and who knows if it'll work here. But apparently it does. Not without incident, not without disengagements, but it's working, so that's exciting. So then I was going to talk about, I mentioned this earlier, the Sandy Munro has a new rant about the apparent advisor to the NHTSA and the conflict of interest of her being on a board of a LiDAR company and She's since made her tweets private, but if you've seen some of her tweets about Elon or Tesla, they're pretty negative, is a nice way to put it. And, she follows a lot of the Tesla Q people. And so just very dismissive of Elon's whole thing. And so obviously, that's going to color, probably, one would expect, will color her advisement as far as Tesla's system. And being on a LiDAR board, what's the solution to their unsafe system? Why, my company's LiDAR, of course. Now, there's a couple sides of this. Obviously, I don't like that. I don't like the, conflict of interest or the appearance of the conflict of interest. There is a petition going around on change.org that I think is pretty good, pretty well written. It gets a little personal by the author in one part of one paragraph that I think is I think he felt he was strengthening the point by pointing out specifics, but it takes away the cool-headed nature of the rest of it by seeming like this is more personal than a good practice of governance not to have conflict of interest. And it kind of introduces a conflict of interest he has in, not liking this person because of other people in the Tesla Q community. So just as a, person who's written a bunch of scripts and things, I would have scrapped that paragraph, but I didn't end up signing it. I don't know if it'll get any legs, but people are signing on to it. And, even if it just give someone pause to take kind of a second look at what's going on. It's not all just bots and fanboys thinking this is a little strange. And they did address this on the earnings call too, where they had a couple questions about regulatory environment. And I think this is one of those, like, had Elon answered it, he could have gotten himself into trouble or gotten Tesla into trouble just by being completely honest. And it would have made all sorts of headlines. And I think it was probably best that Zach and I can't remember the other guy's name. Drew, maybe? We're doing the call because they made a very emphatic point of, we're, very willing to cooperate with regulators wherever we can. We welcome, the, fair scrutiny. I don't know if they said that exactly, but you definitely got the vibe that, we think we've got a really safe system. We're happy to show them our methodology and our data and prove to them that we know what we're doing. So I thought that couldn't have been handled better in those questions and left pretty much no hook point for someone who wanted to write a salacious story. So that was really good. If you've seen Sandy's rant, or even the teaser for his rant today, it's also really well done. It starts out a little fiery in kind of a it's kind of calling people stupid before you've told them why they're stupid. Again, like, just as It's not exactly how I would have done it, but he did make notes and was, you could tell, reading from a teleprompter or something through some of that, because he wanted to make sure he said this in a constructive yet forceful way, and really made the point of the Chinese are, China is going to eat America alive if we keep bringing leaders back to the pack so others don't fall ahead, or the other OEMs don't fall too far behind. And it was really thought out. I thought really powerful, and really, part of what Joe Biden's campaign was about was, if we can't show that democracy works and that we can't do big things in America, then we're handing over our leadership role to Russia, to China. And moves like this really undercut that message of, we want to be the leaders. And I'll save that for a second. But so there's that, and I don't want to get super political here, but I also think there's a little overreaction in the Tesla world to this. This is a very new field, and in something like this, there are very few people who you could point to. I mean, if you're not in the Tesla world, if you're not a Sandy Munro follower, if you're not, if you're just the average person, thinking you're making good policy, you look for who are, the experts in this new field. And, this person has, done a study with Duke University. They've done other, things. And so you say, oh, Duke University, that sounds good, right? And yeah, okay, let's have them be an advisor, because we don't know anything about this new world that's coming with AI and LiDAR and the autopilots, all the advanced driver assistance features. So I think on one hand, there's a, from the Tesla world, they see this conflict of interest, because that we're also immersed in, where full self-driving is, and, whose system does what and how well does it do. And we obviously all know Elon's stance on LiDAR for this application. SpaceX uses it, but he thinks it's a waste for vehicles. But we're immersed in that, and the assumption that she was handpicked by the president, this advisory role to the NHTSA. Am I saying that right? National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, yeah. And the idea that he's studying up on advanced driver systems and saying, oh no, that's the person you want. And he's doing that choice because, she likes the union companies, and she does, and doesn't like Tesla. But I think it's a little far-fetched to think someone that removed is being handpicked by the president for this advisory position. More likely, somebody said, oh, this person's done some work in this. They seem to align with maybe some of our other goals. We'll say, she's a good candidate. And then someone above says, hey, we need an advisor on this new stuff. who are our options? Oh, we've got this person, that person. Okay. Um, who's the best one and why? Okay. And they get, someone, usually in situations like this, someone lower makes a decision and the recommendations keep going up higher. And it might not be the height of corruption we all want to think it is. It could just be a bad choice by someone down the line. Now, maybe that someone is very aligned with, the other OEMs or OEMs. Maybe that person is, doing that for corrupt reasons, or lidar loving reasons. Who knows? But I think it's, and in the end doesn't matter because obviously the buck stops with the president. I don't know that it matters too much. But there does tend to be a little overreaction. And maybe she could be fair, like they were saying on the call, if they share their data and she says, no, we need a deep look inside of everything, and she can't find a flaw with it, well, that, then you've got a lot of scrutiny. And, if you can prove it to that person, you can prove it to anyone. So there's that. Now, the obvious downside is if she, gets on this advisory or gets in this advisory position, says, no, they need to be shut down right now pending further review. And all of the driver safety stuff gets taken out of Tesla vehicles because it might be introducing a risk. That would obviously be very bad. There's one thing I found really fascinating on the call was when they were talking about the safety score beta, and I think we all kind of hate it a little bit, but they were saying that people using the safety score compared to those who aren't have a 30% reduction in accidents. This pool of people versus that pool of people. So clearly being intentional in your driving, even if it's for kind of clumsy metrics at this point, seems to be having a positive effect. Now, that's before you even have the full self-driving beta. So that's pretty fantastic. And then you think of all the situations where, the safety systems can alert you or help you in other ways. If they take those out or severely pare them down, then we not only lose that 30% favorability from that group, but a lot of the other step change improvements from all the other advancements. So obviously it could be very bad. It could be that, Tesla can convince her with, maybe sharing some inside information that maybe isn't public. Maybe by her taking a public role, she would have, have a change of heart and be a little more open-minded. I don't know. It's not written in stone. I think, like they handled it on the call, I think they'll handle it as best they can. We're just going to have to wait and see on it. But I'm actually working on, I may have talked about this in another stream, but a very special episode of Brian Reeby Drives Electric, where I'm going to talk a little bit about the motorcycle accident I was in with my brother and show some footage from that time. And that's one of those things that had this technology existed back in 2000 and been on this person's car, they would not have pulled out in front of us on the motorcycle. And so it's going to be a little different vibe. But I was planning that already, and then I actually filmed some of it yesterday. And then I heard about this person and, kind of her background. And that's the big concern, is that it slows down something that is someone will go home tonight that wouldn't have gone home tonight because of Tesla's safety features. Maybe not because of FSD, but maybe someone's driving home tonight and falling asleep at the wheel, and autopilot keeps them in their lane and wakes them back up with a beep. These arguments stem from the assumption that the roads are safe right now, and adding any difference is introducing a risk, and not looking at the great risk there is every day and a potential to mitigate some of that incrementally, and just do the best we can. Someone was struck and killed in a in-town intersection a week ago here, and there's the cross somebody put up on the light pole there, and there again it appears maybe a vehicle was swerving. I happened to drive up on it in some of the aftermath, and it was just another one of those times that struck me of, if people were using these systems, that vehicle would have stopped, even if there would have been a collision. It probably wouldn't have been as fast. The person may have survived even with injuries, and surviving with injuries is better. So there's just there's a lot at stake, and we don't realize it until it happens in our family or in with people we know. And I'm getting very deep here. I gotta save it up for the very special episode. Lighten it up here. But anyway, unfortunately, that was the last thing I really wanted to talk about, was that that very special episode is coming. And I don't know if that'll be this weekend, or if this weekend is going to be National Drive Electric Week, or I have another thing maybe in the hopper pending an interview that might be coming. So it's going to be a grab bag. Something will happen on Sunday. There will be a new video, and we'll see which one it is. So that will be exciting for all of us, myself included. But that stuff is coming. And then for those of you in the Minnesota group, tomorrow it looks like there's going to be a get-together tomorrow evening at Invictus in the North Metro. It's in the Minnesota Tesla Owners Group Facebook page. And Brandon and Kaylee, the EV Nomads, are in town, so I think people are getting together with them. If we can pry Kaylee away from the Mall of America long enough to go and meet people up there. So I'm going to try to make it up there if I can. My wife is going through a very intense regulatory situation in her job, and they're submitting things to the FDA, and working through processes and all sorts of stuff. So if she can get off work at 5, which she says she probably will be able to, I might be able to get up there a little late, but I'd still like to come up and actually see people in real life for a change. So Todd's going to be there, and then he's going to be there, or there. So should be a fun time if you're in the area, or if you're if you're 1,000 miles away and think, hey, I want to come to that. You could start driving now, and then get there by tomorrow night. Or I'm not doing the math right with how many miles, but I wouldn't advise that. But people have done weirder things. So anyway, is there anything else anybody found from the earnings call that they thought was really interesting? Or are there other Minnesota beta testers that we should be mentioning? Or are there other beta testers that you know of in different areas that we should be mentioning, just so people can check out different areas? Because I think that's cool. I can't tell if anyone's typing or not, so I'm going to have another drink of water. And I'll show you some cool stuff. I'll be right back. Show and tell time. I'm back. Did you miss me? So I think I mentioned last week that my friend Bill and his wife Lilia were here from Czech Republic, and I think she's from Romania originally. And they brought me a couple cool things, which is a Tesla note. And I was told, even though this says 100, it's like not really worth that much. He wouldn't let me repay him for it, so I'll feel terrible if somebody says, "Oh man, that's like $100." I'd feel really terrible about that. So I just thought that was cool. I'd hold it up closer to the camera, but I've got manual focus on, and you can see by my hand that would all be blurry. So, and then apparently Tesla has a name sharing agreement with this battery company. It's not Tesla. It's this battery company who probably existed before Tesla, the car company, came along, and then they just decided, yeah, we'll both be Tesla. But anyway, they're Tesla future batteries, and they're Blue Plus. So I've got some of those. And apparently they're zinc carbon batteries. So I don't know where the exact focus point is. But anyway, just fun things they left. So among other cool things. And Bill is actually the first one to let me drive a Model 3 and my first Tesla experience. So big thanks to him. I'm sure it's probably the very early morning there. Well, I think they're still in the U.S. Yeah, I think they're still in the U.S. But anyway, regardless, that was cool. So thank you, Bill and Yulia. So Tim's going to be there. Todd's going to be there. Brendan and Kaylee are going to be there. It's going to be hopping. Hopefully I can be there. Yeah, Roland, those things are pretty cool. I might frame the Tesla Bill, or find maybe a frame with 2 glass panes so you can see both sides of it. I feel like that's a thing that that exists somewhere. I feel like that's something rich people would have, like people who saved their first dollar. They would have that. Um, that is not. That's not been a part of my life. Saving dollars for display has not been a part of my life. That's what a Tesla's for. Uh, uh, See how far I stretched to get this? Uh, but it's cool. So like like my friend who bought the Mach-E GT, and we were talking about different vehicles, and obviously Tesla came up. I wasn't going to pressure him into people can buy whatever they want. We kind of talked through some of the points of my review of the Mach-E, and he basically said my in-laws will kill me if it doesn't have the blue oval on it. So I have to get the one that's got the blue oval on it. And keeping a happy family is there's there's a benefit to that. So and then like with my other friend who's got a Model 3, and now her husband's kind of stolen it from her. It kind of goes back to excuse me, what I was saying at the beginning, that if Tesla's caught off, like if my two friends get their vehicles, and then they tell two friends, and then they tell two friends, and then they tell two friends, I wish I could do the effect, but that's how even Tesla is being caught off guard by how fast this transition is, and being surprised by the awakening of the general public to electric vehicles. And that's fantastic to see. When we were arguing for Clean Cars Minnesota, one of the things people kept bringing up was data from a couple years ago showing how small the EV market share was. And my argument was, like the smartphone thing, everybody makes the analogy. This is going to happen way faster than anyone expects. And really the dates in the Minnesota Clean Cars aren't that important. As important as putting the rule in place. And the reason is, in my mind, we are going to be selling more EVs, or there's going to be enough demand for EVs from all manufacturers by the time we hit when that target kicks in, I think in model year 2025. So the problem isn't going to be, will people be ready for EVs in 2025? The question will be, will the good EVs be coming to Minnesota in 2025? And that's where, Paul Bloomquist from the Roseau County Ford, in our interview, he was talking about how, availability is still tough for the Mach-E because they have to send so many to Europe, because so many have to be sold in California and other ZEV states. And if we're in that mix, then those good vehicles that people like my friend want before next May will have that availability here too. So as the manufacturers ramp up, as people are, starting to make this transition faster than even Tesla is expecting, Minnesota, if we want to have good availability, needs to be up here going, hey, you got to send some here. And then we'll get a piece of the the good new technology in all the new vehicles. So, yeah, I don't think dealers or manufacturers being able to sell the relatively low quantities is going to be a problem for any of them. And that's my 2 cents. We'll see where we are in a couple of years, and maybe I'll be dead wrong, but if the demand is surprising Tesla in 2021, then by 2025 it's going to be game over. If everybody can manufacture enough, that will be the constraint. And with that was a lighter note to end on. Yeah, things are happening. Things are gonna get better. People are making the switch and having fun doing it. My friend who ordered the Mach-E GT has been calling it his midlife crisis car, and is very excited about putting it through its paces. So, and it sounds like the GT version fixes one of the quibbles I had with the Mach-E, is that it was a little floaty in some of the turns. It was fine, better than a nice car would be for sure by miles, a nice car of that size, but just not as tightened up as the Model Y is. And it sounds like the GT kind of fixes some of that. So I'll definitely cover it if he lets me when they take delivery. But like I said, that might be mid next year. But that's all I have for tonight. I hope you all have a wonderful week. And like I said, something will be coming out on Sunday. Not sure what. Like I said, there's a few things in the hopper. And I might whisk my daughter off on an impromptu mini road trip in the next couple days to shoot another video yet. So we'll see. Something will come out on Sunday. And for those of you in Minnesota, hopefully I can see you at Invictus tomorrow night. Sounds like it'll be a good time. And then you guys can talk, and you don't have to listen to me yammer on for so long. So, but thank you for listening to me yammer on. Have a great night. Like I said earlier, check out Jim, the Iowa Tesla Guys YouTube channel, and look for his full self-driving video of his first experience. And then Dan Birkland, also on YouTube, and he's got some of the full self-driving videos in Minneapolis. So cool to see. Hopefully we'll start seeing a lot more. But with that, have a good night, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks a lot for joining.